You better watch out because Fresh Monkey Fiction is coming for your Christmas money. DorkLair! Welcome to another DorkLair action figure review. Today I'm taking a look at the Fresh Monkey Fiction Naughty or Nice Classic Santa Claus. So this line of figures is a Big Bad Toy Store exclusive. If you want them, you have to go directly to Big Bad Toy Store or the aftermarket. But they are all still readily available on their site. They're all in stock. This particular Classic Santa went out of stock for a couple days, but I think after they processed everything, they readjusted and they got their extras back in stock. So as of the recording and publishing of this video on Monday, December 19th, you should be able to just go and buy it from Big Bad Toy Store. The price is $37 per figure. They have some deluxes, but this current one that's right here is just one of their standard $37 ones. This is their Classic Santa. I wanted to get one in hand before I decided whether or not to go all in. Well, probably not going to go all in, but before I decided whether or not to get more. And I'm happy to say that I am definitely going to order more. As soon as I get done with this review, I'm going to probably buy a couple more figures from the line. A couple other ones they have are the Pirate Santa, the Zombie Santa. They have like a Terminator Santa. It's like a cyborg robotic type Santa. And a few other ones. They have a Krampus and a couple other figures. But I just wanted the classic. I wanted to get a taste for the line before I decide if I want to order some more. I am probably going to get that deluxe pirate version. Was maybe going to get the Krampus, but as you'll see with the accessory kit that I have, I'm not very happy with the cloth goods, and that's kind of what drives the price up of that one. So I'm going to skip that one. But now that I have this in hand, I'm definitely going to get a few more. I'm very happy with this figure, so let's get into this review. First up, here's a look at the packaging, and this is absolutely a Marvel Legends box right here. Like, this is exactly the same as a Marvel Legends box, but it's got some nice Christmas sweater decoration there. It's got Santa at the top. I don't think Marvel Legends have this flap up here too, but other than that, this is very much Marvel Legends box. Maybe they got some extra boxes from Hasbro, as Hasbro has decided to go to the windowless boxes, but you can see some of the other characters they have on here. They have Sergeant Santa, Cyborg Santa, Krampus in Santa Disguise, Pirate Santa, and then the coming soon, this is a teaser of Wave 2, which they just put up and they're amazing. They have so many cool looks, but that is the Mall Santa, which is absolutely hilarious. And since I will be talking about the accessory set, it's a very simple box, and then that also has some of the cross-sell on the back. Teaser for Father Frost, that's one I'm absolutely going to be ordering from Wave 2, but you have Jolly Santa, Classic, Sergeant, Krampus on the back of this one. Okay, zooming in for a nice close-up of Saint Nick. Here's a look at his portrait. And this hat is removable, so that you can see a nice, happy, jolly Santa right here. Definitely a milk and cookies kind of Santa look going on. And there's some, like a wash in that blonde white beard. And then you have a little bit of like rosy, shading going on the cheeks. The eyes could probably use a little more life, but they're painted pretty straight. Like, they're pretty cleanly painted. And there is a little slop, like some of the cheek color is coming on to the tips of the curly mustache over there. And just a look at the top of the head. But overall, I am pretty happy with the sculpt and paint job on that head. And I do like the color of the jacket. I like that they did some airbrushing there to, kind of bring out the shapes and things of it. You can really see it down in here. Sometimes my lighting masks a lot of that type of airbrushing, but very nicely done. And then you have this very heavily textured fur throughout here, and this skirt piece is a little softer. Nice leathery texture on the belt. There's a metallic gold for the buckle, although there's a little bit of over painting around the edges there, like you can see it down in that corner right there. And then the same airbrushed shading going on the legs, and these boots are beautiful. Again, this is just a very, very classic Santa. I love the buckles on the boots right there. It does have some peg holes in the bottom, but overall this is your Coca-Cola type Santa Claus. And I think the question on a lot of people's minds is, how does he scale with other action figure lines? And we're going to go heavy on the comparisons. As you can see here, he stands just over 6.5 inches. First up, here he is next to a couple Figura Obscura releases, Father Christmas on the left, and the most recent Red Krampus on the right. Next up, we have a couple standard Mythic Legions. On the left is a 2.0 Elf Kit Bash, and on the right is a standard 1.0 Tibius with a repainted head by Eric Miller to look like the baseball that he is. A couple more popular Christmas figures. On the left is the Mezco 112 Collective Holiday Gomez, and on the right is the Mezco 112 Collective Advent Calendar Cousin Eddie. Next to a couple DC characters, on the left is the Sovereign Knight Batman from Mezco 112 Collective, and on the right is the Mafex Dark Knight Returns Superman. Here he is with a kit-bashed Action Force figure from the Valaverse line on the left, and then on the right is the Marvel Legends Retro Green Goblin. And then to bring in a couple smaller popular lines, on the left is a Cobra Red Ninja from the G.I. Joe Classified, and on the right is Cad Bane from the Black Series. Finally, a couple larger figures. On the right is the Masterverse Zodak from the New Eternia line, and on the left is the Mandalorian movie realization Beskar version that came with the Grogu in the cart, one of my top 5 figures of 2022. Stay tuned for those lists coming soon. Okay, for accessories, he does come with an alternate head, and I thought I would pop it off so that you can see the size of the ball is huge and the neck is not removable. So if you're going to do any swapping, you're either going to have to cut this down or find figures with really large holes in the heads. And another thing I thought was kind of cool is that these heads are quite soft. I don't know if you can see it squishing in there, like a lot softer than usual head sculpts for figures, which is kind of nice because it makes switching the heads really easily with the softer plastic. And there's a look at that alternate head sculpt with the winking expression, and then here it is with the hat on there. So very cool, classic Santa look right there. He does come with a couple extra hands, so in addition to the 2 gripping hands that were on him, he also has these open hands, and I was kind of hoping that they would be able to hold the present, which is another pretty cool accessory, but his arms just don't come across far enough to be able to grab the present with these. They just don't come together enough, so these hands will need to be used for some other purpose. I guess you could sort of make him holding his belt a little bit. It's not exact, but it's a pretty good look right there. And then he does come with one alternate right hand, a pointing finger. Like I said, he does come with the single present. And then he does come with a nice scroll of presumably names. I actually can't read any of these, although that top one almost looks like Boston, or maybe it's Barton if they're children's names. I don't know. They're hard to read, but there's a look at them if you want to try your hand. Let me know what you think those are in the comments below. Decipher those names for me. He comes with a plate, and he has 2 cookies to put on the plate. Plate does have a little bit of a sculpt on the bottom there, and the cookies look delicious. And you can't have cookies without a glass of milk. And I do wish that the milk kind of went a little bit further down. It doesn't quite hit the bottom, and I don't really want to push it in because I don't want it to get stuck in there. But a little glass of milk looks pretty good. And you can get him to hold the milk in the gripping hands. You just have to kind of stretch it out a little bit. I would suggest heating it up first. And finally, for the figure itself, the last accessory is this stand, and his feet can peg right in. There's 2 pegs, and they fit pretty well. Nice and tight fit on the stand. Now I want to just talk a little bit about the accessory pack, and this is where I'm kind of let down. I don't think this looks the way it looked in the preview photo for this set. Like, this is very thin. The fur along the edge is almost like too big or something. Like, it's out of scale. It looks like a feather boa or something. And then you have this ribbon right here that, again, it just feels like wrapping, like ribbon for like wrapping a present. And yeah, I honestly don't really like the look of this. It just doesn't seem to match the figure very well. It feels out of scale. It just feels kind of goofy. And as much as I love the figure itself, I'm really not a fan of this accessory kit because of the cloth goods. And then made out of the same materials, it does have a sack for presents, and this feels more right, like for, because it's not a part of his clothing, it feels like this can look okay. And it does cinch using this ribbon. So you could have him throw it over his shoulder, and I think that would look actually pretty good. And then in addition to the cloth goods, these are the pieces from the set that are identical to the ones that came with Santa. So you get an extra present, an extra plate, cookies, milk, and the list. And then the other things that Santa didn't come with are a pair of stockings to hang on your 112 mantle. And then you have a single candy cane right here, which to me scales, I don't know, a little bit on the large size for an actual regular standard candy cane. And then he does have a couple lumps of coal for the naughty children. And then there's a pile of presents, all one sort of hollow piece, similar to the other gift. And to me, like, this is what this accessory kit is good for, are these pieces here. To, diorama pieces, I don't think the cloth goods make it worthwhile, but these are okay. And last but not least, the articulation. And before we start with that, I just want to mention how nice this thing feels in hand. To me, this is the closest thing I've felt to like that Mythic Legions heft, and that plastic feel that Mythic Legions have is very similar to this. I like the feel of this figure quite a bit. It's nice and dense and heavy. It does not feel at all in any danger of breakage or anything like that. I really like the plastic they used on this and the finish and just the overall feel of this figure that doesn't really translate in a visual video. And so starting off with the head, the big old ball joint can look up a little bit and it can look down just a slight amount, but because of that big ball joint, you can kind of cock it side to side and get a little bit of some expression out of it. Arm is on a swivel that can swing around and a hinge that can bring him up just about to a T-pose. And then you have the single jointed elbow, comes up to just a little bit shy of 90 degrees. There is a twist at that elbow as well. And then the hand just pegs in with a horizontal hinge right here. And there's a nice big open cuff, so I think that helps give some range of motion to those hands. And then in the torso, he can crunch forward quite a bit and he can arch back quite a bit, but because of that ample cut, you're going to probably see it at certain positions, so you just got to watch out for that. And he can twist side to side, and a lot of good range in there, but again, there's going to be some gap if you really push it to the limits. And as far as those limits go, if you're going to go backwards, it's probably about that far without a gap, and if you're going to go forwards, it's about that far without a gap. And if you're wondering about what it looks like inside there, yes, it's kind of hollow, but the walls of this torso are so thick that it feels like a solid, dense piece. And then you have that big cut that allows for that range and the long stem. And the one thing I was wondering would be like, can you pull this skirt off? And it's actually glued on, and I don't really want to remove mine yet until I have an extra in hand. And you can see right here that there's a peg into the pelvis right there. That's glued there. And I was peeling this away a little bit, and I was seeing some glue come undone right over here. So you could definitely unglue it. I don't think it would be a lot of work. And then you could maybe lift it and move it around a little bit or do some swaps or whatnot. But yeah, I thought I would just give you a look at the innards of this guy. And then the legs, because of that soft skirt, can kick all the way forwards. They can go backwards a bit. He can go way out into the splits. He does have that thigh swivel right there. He's got the single jointed knee. Doesn't quite come up to 90 degrees. And then there is a twist above the knee. Very nice ankle rocker right there. And he can point his feet down and back up. So really, I mean, like for a big, chunky, thick, heavy guy, it moves pretty well. And for swaps, I don't really have many ideas. I know that my friend Will White, or aka Billy Beige Customs, who has a YouTube channel, I'll put the link in the description. He did swap the hands for some Mythic Legions hands and it worked, but the Mythic Legions peg is bigger and I don't really think I want to stretch out the peg hole on it just yet. I'll probably do some swaps later, but I still want to mess around with this before I get into like stretching and modifying potentially the figure. And so that you can see that big ball peg, like that is just nowhere near going to fit a Mythic Legions 1.0 head. And one thing you could do is you could put the fresh Monkey Fiction heads on Mythic Legions if you pad it out with some sticky tack or something like that. And if you want to utilize the hat on the Figura Obscura Father Christmas, that actually works pretty well too. It's a little bit looser, but I don't think it looks bad on there. Overall, I am very happy with this figure. I love the way it looks, the way it feels, the way it moves. I like how it scales with other lines. I think it's a great release, and I'm looking forward to picking up more. Like, this was my test to see if I wanted more, and I definitely want more of these fresh Monkey Fiction, naughty or nice Santa Claus figures. Anyway, thanks for watching my video, and until next time, may the Force be with you.